Okay, so are you ready to have your mind blown about the moon? We're going deep, deep, deep on all the weird stuff most people have no clue about.
Always up for a good lunar mystery.
Well, buckle up because this isn't your average science lesson. We're talking about the kind of stuff that makes you go, wait, what? And it's all coming from this study we found. Less textbook, more like someone's space obsession diary.
I like it. Sounds intriguing already.
Right, so get this first up, the moon. Not even round, really.
Hold on, what? Isn't that like Astronomy 101? The big round cheese wheel in the sky.
Huh, that's what they want you to think. This study, though, says it's more like a lemon.
A lemon? Seriously?
Yeah, a lemon. Apparently, it's all about how Earth's gravity tugged on the moon as it was forming like billions of years ago.
Wild. It's amazing how gravity shapes these celestial objects. Speaking of which, this study gets into something that really blew me away, just how hard it is to land on the moon, successfully.
I read that part way harder than you'd think. The document compares it to, get this, landing a helicopter.
A helicopter on the moon. Okay, now that one throws me for a loop.
Right. At first I thought it was a typo, but they explained it's all about the whole no air thing.
Ah, makes sense. Helicopters use those big rotors, right, to control their descent, kind of like using the air itself. No air on the moon.
Exactly. So imagine trying to gently land on like a giant trampoline, but with way more at stake.
That's a fantastic analogy. No wonder those moon landings were such incredible feats. It takes incredible precision to get it right.
Totally. But speaking of things people get wrong about the moon, what about that whole dark side business?
Ah, the classic misconception. It's true we only see one side of the moon from Earth, but dark is a bit misleading.
Right, because it's not like there's a permanent rock concert back there or something.
Exactly. The sun shines on both sides. It's just that the moon's rotation is in sync with its orbit around Earth. Tidally locked, it's called.
So more like a shy dance partner than a mysterious stranger. But here's the thing. The side we do see, it's totally different from the far side, visually.
Oh, absolutely. The near side has those huge, dark areas we call Maria. Did you know those are solidified lava flows from, like, billions of years ago?
Wait, really? So those aren't just craters or shadows, that's ancient lava.
Ancient lava, yeah. Massive eruptions. And the study points out that there are minerals in those areas directly linked to that supervolcanic time period.
Whoa. It's like holding a piece of deep time in your hand. So why is the far side so different then? No lava flows.
The theory is that billions of years ago, when the moon was closer to Earth, our planet's heat actually baked the near side, melted stuff, created the Maria, the whole shebang. The far side, though, shielded from all that heat.
So it cooled differently, ended up with a completely different look. Two faces of the moon, two very different stories. This document also hints at a pretty wild future for the moon, by the way. We're talking humans, a ton of resources, maybe even a space elevator.
Now, that's getting ahead of ourselves a little. Let's not forget there's no air to breathe on the moon.
True, true. And it's not exactly beach weather. But come on, a space elevator, how cool would that be?
The idea is fascinating. Imagine a structure extending from the moon's surface all the way to Earth's orbit.
Okay, I can't even... That sounds like something out of Star Trek. But is it even possible?
Well, the document brings up some interesting points about lunar gravity and resources that could theoretically make it feasible. But there are challenges, like moon dust, for starters.
Moon dust. Is that anything like that stuff they use to make mochi? I saw that on a cooking show once.
Not quite. This document actually calls out lunar dust as a major issue for missions, like a real problem.
Well, how bad can dust be? It's not like it's radioactive or anything.
It's way worse than you think. For starters, it's crazy fine, like microscopic and sharp.
Sharp dust. What's it going to do? Give you a little paper cut?
I wish. It's more like microscopic shards of glass, getting into everything. Spacesuits, equipment, even your lungs if you're not super careful. And because there's no wind or rain on the moon.
It just sits there, doesn't erode or break down like on Earth.
Exactly. But here's the weird part. That same pesky dust might actually be the key to building stuff on the moon.
Hold on. Are you saying moon bricks? Like making buildings out of dust?
It's a real possibility. The study talks about using lunar dust as a building material. Think 3D printing structures, even roads, all from stuff that's literally just lying around up there.
Talk about turning lemons into lemonade, or I guess moon dust into moon bases. But backtracking a bit, I thought the moon was, geologically dead. Like nothing much going on up there except craters and more craters.
Nope, not dead at all. It's way more active than people give it credit for. As the moon's insides cool down, it actually makes the surface shrink. Cracks, shifts, the whole deal.
So like wrinkles, but on a planetary scale.
Kind of. And those shifts can cause moonquakes. Some strong enough that if astronauts were standing there, they'd feel it.
Whoa, no thanks. I'll stick to earthquakes here on Earth. Though speaking of Earth, this document said something about water. On the moon. What's the deal with that?
It's one of the most exciting areas of lunar research right now. Most of it's frozen solid
Yeah.
in those craters at the poles that never see sunlight.
But.
Sure.
There's a but, I can tell.
Some scientists think there's also water moving across the lunar surface.
Wait, are you saying there are like rivers on the moon or something?
Not quite rivers.
Yeah.
More like, imagine the moon heats up during the day, right?
Oh.
Some of that ice turns straight into vapor and kind of floats around until it finds a cold spot to freeze again.
So it's a cycle, but super slow and with vapor instead of rain?
Yeah.
Still wild. And if we could somehow collect that lunar water,
Game changer, right?
huge. This document stresses that. Drinking water, oxygen, even rocket fuel. It's all possible if we can crack the lunar water code. But let's be real, those challenges we talked about, no air, extreme temps, still there.
Right. It's not like we're booking a weekend getaway to the moon just yet.
Yeah.
But all this talk about the future, it makes you think about how the moon's been impacting us for, well, forever.
Billions of years, easy. And its effect on human culture, huge. Think ancient civilizations, tracking the moon's cycles, creating the first calendars. Oh, right, like the original clock in the sky before iPhones and all that.
Exactly. The phases of the moon were vital for telling time, figuring out when to plant crops. Even today, tons of cultures still rely on lunar calendars for big events.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Something so far away, shaping life on Earth for millennia. And let's not forget the stories we tell because of the moon. Myths, legends, werewolves even.
And the art. Musicians, painters, poets. For centuries, the moon has been this muse sparking creativity.
From Moonlight Sonata to, like, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It really gets the creative juices flowing, that's for sure. But you want to talk spectacle. Nothing beats a lunar eclipse.
I see where you're going with this. It is a truly awe-inspiring event.
When the sun, earth, and moon all line up perfectly.
Yeah.
Talk about a cosmic dance. Gives me chills just thinking about it.
It's incredible how precisely positioned the moon has to be to create those total eclipses visible from Earth,
Right.
the odds.
Right. Almost makes you think it's planned or something, even though, science has an explanation. Still, pretty amazing coincidence.
Coincidence or not, the effect is undeniable, just like the moon's overall effect on our planet.
Yeah.
And speaking of impact,
This document brings up something kind of mind-blowing, actually. It says, some scientists think the moon, all those craters. It's like a record of the early solar system.
it's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
Because it's been hit so many times over billions of years. But there's no wind or rain to erode things.
Those craters are preserved, right, like little time capsules of what got blasted at the moon way back when.
Exactly. By analyzing the stuff that's in those craters, it can tell us about the composition of the early solar system, what was flying around out there.
Okay, now, that is some serious science. But it does make you wonder, with all this talk about the moon's past, what about our future with it?
This study definitely goes there. It talks about the moon becoming this hub, for further exploration, maybe even resource extraction at some point.
Wait, like a mining town, but on the moon? Spaceships filling up on moon ice, blasting off to Jupiter?
Hey, stranger things have happened. There's growing interest in what the moon has to offer rare elements like helium-3, which could be a huge energy source down the line,
Yep.
and of course all that water ice.
So we might go from staring up at the moon, telling stories about it, to actually using it to launch ourselves even further out into the universe. Kind of poetic when you think about it.
It is pretty profound. From those early calendars to, who knows, maybe fueling starships someday, the moon's influence on humanity, it's undeniable.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to that, I gotta say. For something we see almost every night, it's amazing how much mystery is still up there.
And that sense of mystery, that drive to understand more, that's what keeps pushing us forward, in science and exploration and everything.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, it feels like we've gone on our own little lunar expedition with this deep dive. We've uncovered some truly wild stuff about our celestial neighbor.
From lemon shapes to lava flows, hopping water molecules to moon dust construction projects, it's been quite the ride.
You said it. So next time you're gazing up at that big, beautiful moon, just remember there's a whole lot more to it than meets the eye.
It's a dynamic, ever-evolving world out there, with a history and a future that we're only just beginning to uncover.
And who knows what incredible discoveries await as we continue to explore. That's it for this lunar adventure, folks. For the deep dive, I'm host's name, signing off. Thanks for joining us.